If you don't propose by Friday, I'm taking his offer, she said about her ex. I replied, let me buy the ring first. Then I changed the locks and packed her things while she was meeting her ex to turn him down. She came home to boxes and a note. Seems there are no offers anymore. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The garlic was sizzling in the pan, releasing that warm, nutty aroma that always felt like the official scent of our home. Her home, too, for the last 3 years. I was making her favorite, chicken piccata with extra capers, the way she'd raved about after our first anniversary dinner. A bottle of the nice Pinot Grigio she liked was breathing on the counter. It wasn't a special occasion. That was the point. I wanted it to be a Tuesday special occasion, the kind that says, I love our ordinary life, and I love you in the middle of it. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder I'd set months ago. Book surprise weekend, Blue Ridge Cabins? I smiled. That was the plan, not a proposal. We'd talked about marriage, sure, in that vague someday way. I was saving, she was building her career. It felt like a team effort. A cabin weekend, with hiking and no cell service, was my next move. A reminder that us was the main event, not just a prelude to some bigger production. I heard her key in the lock at 7:15, right on time. Something smells amazing, she called out, her voice bright. My heart did its usual, stupid little lift. I was wiping my hands on a towel, turning to greet her, the words, welcome home, stranger, on my lips. They died there. She breezed in, but not towards me for a kiss. She dropped her leather tote onto the sofa with a definitive thud, kicked off her heels with more force than necessary, and stood there in the middle of our living room, facing me. She was still in her work blouse and skirt, but her posture was all wrong. It was rigid, expectant, not the soft, tired slump of someone coming home. This was the posture of someone walking into a meeting they intended to dominate. We need to talk, she said. Her voice had lost its bright edge. It was calm, chillingly level. Okay, everything all right? I asked, the towel forgotten in my hands. I made piccata. This is more important than dinner. She took a breath, as if steeling herself to deliver a difficult but necessary performance review. Mark is back in the city. A cold trickle started in my stomach. Mark, the ex-boyfriend, the one from before me, the almost fiancé whose picture still occasionally lurked in the deep archives of her social media. The lawyer, the one with the generational wealth and the killer pedigree, as she'd once, drunkenly and regretfully, compared. Okay, I said slowly. And he's made it clear he wants me back. He's had his epiphany. Says he was an idiot to let me go. A flicker of something, pride, crossed her face. He's ready to commit. Fully. He's proposing, Alex. The cold trickle turned to a solid block of ice. I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline, the follow-up where she'd laugh and say, can you believe the nerve? And come hug me. It didn't come. I love you, she said, and the words felt like stones dropping into a well. I do, but I need security. I need a defined future. I'm not getting any younger, and this limbo isn't working for me anymore. She gestured vaguely around our apartment, the one I'd painted for her, where we'd built a life. It was suddenly just limbo. So, she continued, her gaze locking onto mine, utterly devoid of the warmth I'd cooked for. Here's the situation. If you don't propose by Friday, this Friday, then I'm taking his offer. It's that simple. The air left the room. The sizzle from the pan behind me sounded obscenely loud. His offer. She said it like she was comparing two job positions. Benefits package A versus benefits package B. I was the internal candidate. Mark was the external hire with a fancier title. Let me get this straight, I said, my own voice sounding strangely calm, detached, like it was coming from someone else. You're giving me a deadline. A 4-day deadline. To propose. Or you go back to Mark. Don't make it sound so crude, she snapped, a flash of irritation breaking her cool facade. I'm just finally being honest about what I need. He is offering me certainty. He is offering me a ring. Why aren't you? Is it? She paused, tilting her head, and the next words were delivered with surgical precision. Is it because you're not sure about me? Is that what this waiting has been about? And there it was. The masterpiece of the manipulation. Her betrayal. Keeping in touch with an ex, entertaining his offer, and now presenting this grotesque ultimatum, was somehow being reframed as my failure. My lack of commitment was forcing her hand. The chicken piccata, the saved cabin money, the 3 years of showing up, all of it was being entered into evidence as proof of my hesitation. I looked at her, really looked. At the woman I thought I knew. I saw no panic, no grief, no fear of losing me. I saw the smug calculation of someone who believed they held all the cards. She thought she'd force my hand. She thought the fear of losing her to Mark would make me drop to one knee right there in the kitchen. The ice in my core didn't melt. It crystallized, forming a clear, hard lens through which I saw everything with perfect, terrible clarity. This wasn't love. This was a transaction. And I had just been informed I was in a bidding war I never agreed to enter. The confusion and pain were there, screaming in the back of my head, but something louder and quieter overpowered them. A profound, settling silence. The silence of a decision being made. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't ask how she could do this. I simply looked at the woman issuing the ultimatum, and the last flicker of warmth I felt for her guttered and died. She misread my silence. She saw contemplation, not condemnation. A little of the tension left her shoulders. "Think about it," she said, her tone softening into something she must have thought was generous. "You have until Friday. I'm meeting Mark for drinks Thursday night to officially turn him down. I hope I'm doing that, Alex. I really do." She gave me a small, expectant smile, then turned and walked toward the bedroom, leaving me alone with the smell of burning garlic and the echoing silence of my own shattered understanding. The cozy Tuesday was gone. In its place was a countdown, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that when it reached 0, her world was going to implode. I just wouldn't be in the blast radius. I didn't sleep. I lay on my back in the dark, staring at the ceiling I'd helped paint a soft sea salt gray because she'd seen it in a magazine. The silence in the apartment was no longer comfortable. It was accusatory. Every familiar creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, felt like it was whispering the same thing. You were a placeholder. A bid in an auction you didn't know was happening. The pain was there, a dull, heavy ache in my chest, but it was strangely distant. It was drowned out by a louder, clearer signal, a cold, humming clarity. The transaction was complete. She had presented her terms. My love, my loyalty, our shared history, they were not currencies she valued. The only currency was a ring and a deadline. By framing it as an offer, she had reduced 700 days of shared life to a financial negotiation. Mark's offer was better. Mine was lacking. By 4 a.m., the ache had been entirely subsumed by the plan. It unfolded in my mind not with rage, but with the serene precision of a chess player seeing checkmate 3 moves ahead. There was no anger in it, only a final, devastating logic. If this was a business deal, then it was time to sever the partnership and liquidate the assets. Starting with her. She left for work the next morning with a renewed, almost vibrating energy. She kissed my cheek, a dry, perfunctory peck. "Think about what I said," she murmured, her eyes already on the day ahead, on her Thursday night meeting where she would magnanimously refuse Mark's superior offer. She was so sure of the script. I gave her a smile. It felt alien on my face, a piece of machinery I had to consciously operate. I said, my voice neutral. "I'm thinking about all of it." The moment the door clicked shut, the apartment shifted. It was no longer our space. It was the scene of the crime, and I was the forensic cleaner. I moved with a methodical calm I didn't know I possessed. My first call was to a 24-hour locksmith advertised as discreet and fast. Dave showed up at 10 a.m., a burly man with kind eyes. "Need to change the locks?" he asked, glancing at the perfectly normal door. "Yes. My partner and I are separating. I need to secure my property before she returns this evening to collect her things." The lie was smooth, effortless. It was the first scene in my new performance. "Rough deal, man. Sorry to hear it," Dave said, already unpacking his tools. "You want the old keys?" "No," I said. "You can take them. They're of no use to anyone anymore." As the solid thunk of the new deadbolt echoed in the hallway, a profound sense of peace settled over me. It was the sound of a boundary, final and physical. Then, I began to pack. I didn't tear through her belongings. I didn't throw anything. That would have required an emotional energy I no longer possessed. This was logistics. I brought empty cardboard boxes up from the basement and started in the walk-in closet we shared. I folded her blouses, The expensive silk ones she'd bought for power meetings and, I now realized, for dinners with Mark. I boxed the high heels she'd wobbled in proudly, the dresses she'd spun in asking, "Does this make me look like a keeper?" Every item was a relic from a museum of a life I'd misunderstood. I packed the gaudy, glittery live, laugh, love sign she'd hung in the bathroom as a joke that had never come down. I packed the expensive skincare she'd always made me feel was a frivolous necessity. I was archaeologically dismantling the presence of a stranger. The bedroom cleared, then the bathroom. Her books, mostly unread, decorative, her throw pillows, her specific brand of tea. All of it went into neatly labeled boxes. I stacked them with bureaucratic tidiness by the front door, a monument to her evacuation. By 3 p.m., the apartment was mine again. It felt larger, quieter, and starkly honest. The ghost of her was boxed and waiting by the exit. I sat down at the kitchen table, the smell of last night's abandoned and scorched piccata finally aired out. I took a single sheet of my own stationery and a pen. The words came easily, cleanly, the final line of the equation. "Seems there are no offers anymore." I didn't sign it. The source was irrelevant. The statement was absolute. I placed it carefully on top of the nearest box, centered, where it would be the first thing she saw. The final administrative tasks. I logged into my phone account and changed my number, effective immediately. I went through my social media, not with drama, but with the bored efficiency of deleting spam. Block, remove, unfriend. I created a new email filter. Any message containing her name would be automatically archived, unread. It wasn't rage. It was system maintenance. As the sun began to lower, casting long, sharp shadows across the clean floors of my silent apartment, I made one last pass. I poured myself a glass of water, not the Pinot Grigio. I sat in the living room chair that had always been mine, and I waited not for her, but for the feeling. It came as the streetlights outside flickered on. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't triumph. It was a vast, empty, and perfectly pristine silence. The silence of a closed account. The noise of her, the anxiety of the deadline, the static of her evaluation, it was all gone. In its place was a quiet, so deep I could hear the future breathing again. I knew she was across town, probably preening, rehearsing her delicate, regretful speech for Mark. "I'm so sorry, it's just not the right time." My current partner has finally stepped up. She was playing the lead in her romantic drama, unaware the theater had already been dismantled around her. I finished my water, washed the glass, and put it away. My movements were calm, routine. The performance was over. There was no audience left. There was only me, in a quiet apartment, with a locked door and a future that was mine alone to define. The countdown to Friday hadn't spurred me to a jewelry store. It had propelled me to a freedom so complete it was indistinguishable from silence. The silence held for exactly 27 hours. It was a deep, nourishing thing. I went to work. I came home to my clean, sparse apartment, and I breathed. I didn't wonder what she was doing. The connection had been severed. She was now a problem for another man, or for no man at all. It was not my concern. My phone, with its new number, remained quiet. But the digital world she'd once inhabited began to scream on my behalf. The first breach came at 8:17 p.m. on Thursday. A notification popped up on my laptop, a preview from an old email account I hadn't yet fully decommissioned. From Qley. Subject: "What is this?" Alex. I'm at the door. My key doesn't work. Where are my things? This isn't funny. Call me now. I deleted it without opening. The theater, however, had its curtain forcibly raised. The script she'd written was in tatters, and her performance became unhinged. My old phone number, now disconnected, must have been flooded. But my voicemail, which I accessed remotely out of morbid, clinical curiosity, became a museum of her unraveling. Voicemail 1, Thursday, 8:43 p.m. Her voice was sharp, all entitlement and fury. "Alex, pick up. This is insane. Did you change the locks? Where's all my stuff? I just had the most humiliating night of my life, and I come home to this? Call me back. Fix this." A clatter, like a phone being juggled. Now, voicemail 2, Thursday, 11:02 p.m. The fury was bleeding into panic. The crisp professional tone was gone, replaced by a warbling confusion. Okay. I'm at my sister's. I don't understand. What did you do? Mark. Mark was a total jerk. He laughed at me. He said he just wanted to see if he still could. He was making a bet with his stupid friends. There is no offer. There's no ring. He just wanted to win. A shaky breath. Please, we need to talk. You were right. I was stupid. Just call me. Voicemail 3, Friday, 7:15 a.m. The deadline morning, pure, unadulterated desperation. The voice was thick, nasally from crying. Alex, baby. I made a huge mistake. A monstrous mistake. I was scared. He manipulated me. He preyed on my insecurities. You're the one I love. It was always you. The last 3 years, that was real. This was just a stupid, panicked fantasy. Please. I'm begging you. I'll do anything. Just talk to me. Let me come home. Our home. I listened to these with the detached interest of an entomologist studying a distressed insect. There was no pull in my heart, no satisfaction in my chest. Just data. The data said, consequences. Then, the unknown numbers started. Text from 2:12, Friday, 12:30 p.m. You set me up? You lied to me. You told me you were buying a ring. You're a pathetic, spineless coward. After everything I gave up for you. Text from 2:12, Friday, 12:47 p.m. My friends all say you're a psychological monster. That this is emotional abuse. You planned this to destroy me. Answer your phone. The flying monkeys had been deployed. Right on schedule. The call from her sister, Melanie, came to my new number on Friday evening. She must have gotten it from a mutual acquaintance. I almost didn't answer, but a cold sense of closure compelled me. Alex? It's Mel. Her voice was the familiar blend of faux sympathy and steel. The family trademark. Melanie. Look, I don't know what happened between you two, but you need to stop this. Right now? What you're doing is cruel. She's devastated. What am I doing exactly? I asked, my voice flat. This silent treatment. Changing the locks. Throwing her out. She told me about your little ultimatum fight, but this is nuclear. She made a mistake, she got scared, and you're acting like she committed murder. She didn't make a mistake, Melanie, I said, cutting through the syrup. She presented a business proposition. I considered it and found the terms unacceptable. I dissolved the partnership. That's not cruelty. That's commerce. There was a stunned silence on the other end. I'd used their language, and it short-circuited her script. She loves you. She was confused. That guy Mark is a sociopath. He tricked her. His character is irrelevant to me, I said. She chose to use his offer as leverage. She discovered her leverage was fake. My choice was to stop being a participant in the negotiation. The conversation is over. You can't just, after 3 years. You owe her at least a conversation. She's staying on my couch, Alex. She's a mess. Her voice rose, the sympathy vanishing, revealing the core of familial anger. I owe her nothing, I said, the finality in my tone absolute. And her current housing situation is the direct result of the choice she made when she had a home. Goodbye, Melanie. I ended the call and blocked the number. The interaction was bracing, like a splash of cold water. It confirmed everything. Her support system was a chorus of enablers, reframing her transactional betrayal as a simple mistake for which I was being unforgivably punitive. The final voicemail came late Friday night. It was the masterpiece. All pretense of love, regret, or victimhood was burned away. This was the raw, entitled ID I had always sensed but never seen. Voicemail 4, Friday, 11:59 p.m. The voice was a guttural snarl, ragged with tears and venom. You think you're so smart. You think you won. You're a nobody. A boring, predictable nobody with a quiet life in a stupid apartment. Mark was right about you. He said you were a placeholder. A comfortable chair to sit in until something better came along. And you know what? He was right. I was settling for you. I was giving you a chance to be more, and you failed. You failed so spectacularly you couldn't even be a man and face me. You just ran and hid like a little boy. You will die alone in that apartment, and no one will care. I hope you're happy with your win. You've won a life of nothing. There was a crashing sound, then a muffled sob that quickly morphed into a shriek of pure rage before the call disconnected. I saved that one, not out of pain, but as a reference document. A receipt. This was the authentic product, stripped of all packaging. The love, the future, the partnership, it had all been the packaging. This snarling, spiteful creature on the recording was what I had actually been building a life with. I listened to it once, then closed the laptop. The silence in my apartment welcomed me back, deeper and more complete than before. The drama was outside now, rattling the windows of other people's lives. The countdown to Friday was over. She had taken her offer and found it was worthless. My peace was no longer just the absence of noise. It was the presence of a profound, unshakable truth. I had not run. I had not hidden. I had simply looked at the terms of the deal and walked away from the table. And now, listening to the echoes of the chaos I'd left behind, I felt the first genuine smile in days touch my lips. It was the smile of a man who had finally heard the quiet and found it was all he ever wanted. 3 months of silence is a powerful thing. It isn't empty, it's constructive. I filled mine with the gym, with finally reading the books on my shelf, with learning how to make more than just piccata. I'd reconnected with friends I'd gently sidelined during the wee years. My apartment, once a stage for a performance, was now simply a home. The boxes by the door were a distant memory, donated to a charity pickup a week after I'd stacked them. I'd kept nothing. The Saturday farmers market was my new ritual. Qley had always hated it. The crowds, the hippie vibes, the lack of air conditioning. For me, it was a weekly immersion in uncomplicated life. The smell of ripe peaches and fresh bread, the cheerful noise, the simple commerce of goods for cash. No hidden emotional contracts. I was at the coffee cart with my friend Jamie, a college buddy I'd rekindled with. We were debating the merits of sourdough versus rye, holding our cups, soaking in the morning sun. I was relaxed, laughing at one of his terrible puns. I looked well, rested, healthy, present. I felt the stare before I saw her. A familiar, prickling intensity cutting through the crowd's benign buzz. My eyes tracked to the source. Qley stood by a stall selling candles, 10 yards away. She looked like a photograph left in the rain. Her hair, usually sleek, was pulled into a messy bun, strands escaping. She wore sunglasses, but even from a distance, I could see the tension in her jaw, the sharp slope of her shoulders. She wore yesterday's jeans and a faded sweatshirt I didn't recognize. The vibrant, curated woman who issued ultimatums was gone, replaced by someone thinner, harder, bleached by stress. Our eyes met. She flinched, as if my gaze was a physical touch. I held it for a second, my expression not changing, then deliberately turned back to Jamie, finishing our conversation. I didn't hurry it. I gave her the full, excruciating minute of watching me exist happily without her. "I've got a situation at 10 o'clock, I said to Jamie, my voice low and even. "Give me 5. "The X," he murmured, following my subtle glance. "The ghost," I corrected. "I'll be right back." As I turned, she was already weaving through the crowd toward me, a determined, desperate energy in her movement. She stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could see the fine lines of fatigue around her mouth, the chip in her nail polish. "Alex." My name was a plea and an accusation all at once. "Qley." I nodded. My tone was the same one I'd used with a vaguely familiar colleague. "Can we, please just talk? For 5 minutes. Not here. Somewhere. Please." Her words tumbled out, rehearsed and frantic. She clutched a reusable market bag like a lifeline. "I've been through hell. Absolute hell. Mark, he was a con man. A liar. He ghosted me after that night. I lost my deposit on my new place because of the drama. I've been on my sister's couch, and I see now. I see what I had. What I threw away." I listened, my hands in my pockets, my posture relaxed. I let the silence after her speech hang in the air between us, filled with the market's cheerful sounds. "There's nothing to talk about, Qley," I said, my voice devoid of warmth or ice. "It was simply factual. Don't say that. You loved me. We had 3 years. Her voice hitched, threatening tears. The performance was back, but the stage was gone, and her costume was frayed. I was stupid and scared, and he manipulated me. This punishment, it doesn't fit the crime. "It's not punishment," I said, cutting her off cleanly. "It's consequence. You presented me with a business decision. I made one. The moment you issued that ultimatum, you terminated our relationship. Everything after that was just administrative. I've moved on." She blinked, the tears now spilling over, smudging under her sunglasses. "Moved on? To this?" She gestured vaguely at the market, at my casual clothes, as if my peace was a pitiful consolation prize. "You're just alone." "I'm at peace," I corrected. "What you're going through with Mark, your housing situation, Those are the consequences of the choice you made with him. They have nothing to do with me. She took a step closer, her scent different now. Cheap laundry detergent instead of her old perfume. You lied to me. You said you were buying a ring. For the first time, a faint, humorless smile touched my lips. And you said you were meeting him to turn him down. It seems we were both being strategic. You were right about one thing that night, though. She looked at me, a flicker of hope in her wet eyes. What? We did want different things. I held her gaze, my own clear and unwavering. You wanted a winning bid. You wanted to be chosen in a competition. I wanted a partner. It seems we both got what we wanted in the end. I have my peace. You have your clarity. The hope in her eyes shattered into pure, impotent rage. The mask dissolved completely, revealing the raw nerve I'd heard on that final voicemail. You arrogant bastard, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. You think this makes you noble? It makes you a coward. You couldn't even fight for me. I didn't rise to it. I simply watched her, as one watches a dangerous animal behind glass. There was nothing to fight for, Qley. You'd already auctioned it off. Goodbye. I didn't wait for a response. I turned my back on her, on the trembling anger, the ruined makeup, the whole sad, shrunken figure of her. I walked the 10 yards back to the coffee cart where Jamie waited, aware of her stare burning into my back. Everything okay? Jamie asked, his brow furrowed. Everything's fine, I said, and my voice was light, meant. I took a sip of my coffee. You were right about the rye. It's better for the pastrami sandwich I'm going to make later. As we turned to walk deeper into the market, I felt it. Not a pang, not a shadow of the old love or the old hurt. I felt nothing. A complete and utter nullity where she was concerned. She was just a stranger with a shared history I no longer read. The ghost had been seen, acknowledged, and had dissolved in the morning sun. I wondered, idly, if I'd feel a sense of victory. But as we laughed at another of Jamie's jokes, the smell of fresh basil and baking bread wrapping around us, I realized victory implies a contest. This was simpler. I had just walked away from a game I never wanted to play, into a life that was authentically, quietly, and completely my own. And I didn't think about her again for the rest of the day. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.